Meeting to order. Invocation on Commissioner Holmes. Do you want to lead us in invocation? Invocation.
I won't do it for you.
That's okay. Commissioner Rose.
It's just for standing, we'll keep standing. Good Lord, thank you for this opportunity to do town's business. Please give us the wisdom and knowledge that we can do not only the best job we can for the town, but your will as well. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry, I won't do that again. We have a pastor and a deacon that we usually call, and they're not here tonight, so. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda for the July 10th meeting?
There he is.
Okay, and let me have one clarity here, because we are having a virtual and a regular meeting. Everybody who votes has to call their name out, and it has to be recorded that way. So there's a bit of motion made by Commissioner Holmes
Second.
and second by Commissioner Rose. So all in favor, state your name and your vote.
Commissioner Holmes, yes.
Mr. Rose, yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Commissioner Martin, yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt our consent agenda? And I'll read the consent agenda. It's minutes of the June 12th meeting, minutes of the June 29th meeting, and a resolution approving the water shortage response plan.
There is, made by Commissioner Martin.
There's a motion made. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Commissioner Rose makes a second to the consent agenda. All in favor, state your name and your vote.
Commissioner Martin, yes.
Commissioner Rose, yes.
Commissioner Holmes, yes.
Motion passes unanimously. And Commissioner Holmes should be joining us virtually. Robinson should be joining us virtually in the next 10 to 15 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, that I failed to inform you, but on the minutes from our last meeting, that there does need to be a correction, because on the vote regarding the golf course, that it was, the minutes reflected that it was a unanimous decision, but it was actually a 3-2 vote.
Okay, that will be changed by, we don't have to vote on it. We'll just make sure that change is made.
Okay, all
All
right.
right? Okay, good. I concur with that, because I had to vote, so it was not unanimous. Okay. Persons to be heard, and I know there's someone speaking on the rezoning, but anyone else that wants to be heard, I'm on hold. I know you're going to be speaking, but I will put you around 8 o'clock, and Hope should be joining us, or if she can't, then that's okay as well. Anyone else wants to speak before us on any item? Well, since there is no one needing to speak before we do the public hearing, I'm going to, this is this is something of an honor for me. And I'm going to get to the podium. And Bobby Green, would you come forward? Bobby, I know you're a little bit shy, but I don't think we've had anyone who has worked any harder for the town of Princeton than you have. You've even volunteered for the fire department when they needed people to work with the fire department. And this resolution, I believe, has 22, 23 years, but you've been here forever.
I know. Been a while, I tell you.
So this, and I know you did not want a big recognition. Your retirement was sort of with your staff, and they honored you. What did they honor you with? A fishing cooler or?
Yeah.
Okay. Something you can really use. A plaque on the wall is not anything you can really use. But I do have a resolution and Town of Princeton proclamation on the occasion of his retirement, Bobby Green. Whereas we express special recognition to Bobby Green and to honor him for his distinguished 22-year career with the Town of Princeton. And whereas Bobby began his career on July 16, 2001 as a maintenance worker 1 and rose through the ranks until his promotion to position of Assistant Public Works Superintendent. And whereas Bobby has proven himself by a valuable asset to the Town of Princeton with a vast knowledge of the town's infrastructure. And whereas Bobby has worked constantly for the betterment of the Town of Princeton Public Works Department and the community. And whereas the Town of Princeton wishes to express his sincere appreciation to Bobby for his dedication to the outstanding performance of his duties during his tenure. And whereas this proclamation is presented to Bobby to serve as a reminder that although he is retiring, he will always be remembered as a valuable employee dedicated to both his position and the community. And now therefore it be proclaimed that I, Donald B. Raines, Mayor of the Town of Princeton, along with the Board of Commissioners, do hereby present this proclamation to Bobby Green as a testimony to his faithful and dedicated service, which he has performed for the past 22 years, and our best wishes for continued success and happiness in the future. Thank you very much.
I enjoyed the work with the can for a long time, trying to help everybody I could. But, you know how it is.
Thank you, and the commissioners may want to make a statement too.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
I was just gonna say, yeah, Bobby is, for a long, long time, been a fixture here, so we appreciate it, and we always, I don't know, according to Harold, you will not be able to get replaced, so, we're in trouble, but, yeah, we appreciate how we
That's
do.
just every day, it's gonna be there.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say is enjoy your retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I get to that point, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I'm working on it.
Plenty of fishing. Plenty of fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Walter, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, yes, sir, I did. Bobby, I want to thank you and for just being a great employee. You have got to be number one with the citizens. The citizens think so, that they just think so highly of you, that me and my family, that we
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir.
And Bobby, you can stay for next hour or two, or you can go enjoy your retirement. It's up to you,
Get myself ready for tomorrow morning.
Mhm.
but
I
thank you.
appreciate it. If you leave me, give me a hug. That's all.
After 30 days. Thanks. Next, we'll open the public hearing at 7:11. Just like I'm making a commercial for some convenience stores. And the first is rezoning of 9468 US 70 Highway East, and Charles Easton will be making a presentation.
Good evening. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Ladies. My name is Charles Easton. I go by CJ. I grew up in this community. My first job was as a lifeguard over here at the town of Princeton pool. I left the town of Princeton, went to Mount Olive ECU, left there, went to the military. After the military, I transitioned to be a police officer over at the town of Selma. Was a police officer, canine officer, detective. Left there to become a deputy sheriff over the Johnson County Sheriff's Office, and recently left the sheriff's office to become a property manager for Mr. Johnson back here, David, who is the owner of this property. What I'd like to tell y'all is that this property, what you see right now, is not what you get. This property is still under rehab, redevelopment, and what we got to do now is ask for the rezoning and then ask for permits to go in and do what we need to do with this property. This property is going to be, I guess, what you would call a pawn shop. It's not what I would call your typical pawn shop, Selma Pawn, Zodiac Pawn, in the area. We were looking to do a more sports memorabilia, one-on-one collectibles, stuff that would draw people to our building and to Princeton. We also look to hold a precious metal license, a pawn license, and a firearm license for resale of firearms, if that makes sense. The adjacent building, which is a metal structure, is looking to be a used car side, but we're looking to do more work trucks, not your conventional any car, any day of the week come in here and get. We're looking to buy work trucks, resell them on the property, and also if we get the chance to take in any kind of antique car on the pawn side, that will also be offered for resale. The lot behind the brick building and the metal building, which will be the pawn shop and the used car lot, will be used for storage. When I say storage, I mean it will have to be a licensed, insured vehicle, but it will be one that is either going to go from storage to the used car lot, or since we do have neighborhoods popping up, and if they're like my neighborhood, they have HOAs. And so if you have a RV camper that does not fit in the driveway, it cannot be stored on the side of the road inside your HOA neighborhood. So we would let that, as long as it is licensed and insured with a tag or registered, we would let them rent a spot inside the fence. There will not be any kind of junk vehicles, nor will we allow that for community purposes and eyesores. So that is what we're looking at. We do have a structural engineer who's already on board, who's coming up, who's already drawn up structural plans. So after the rezoning, if you guys are granted, the rezoning takes place. At that point in time, we will go forward with pulling permits from the county, and then go forward with actually rehabbing and redoing the property to fit our business model.
And you were talking about the brick house?
Yeah, the brick house, I think it's 1,976 square feet, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. That'll be the pawn shop. There are no windows in that, and it's gonna be left that way for the reason of precious metals being in there, collectibles being in there. It's harder to knock out brick than it is a window, from my 10 years of law enforcement experience, taking numerous reports. As long as the doors are locked and the opportunity isn't there, it's a lot harder for anybody to do it. There will be an opening toward the front that will be handicap accessible to allow patrons to come in from the front, and then another exit door on the back. It will be up to Johnson County zoning and standards with them and the inspectors. I already have an inspector that we're working with, and he already knows that we're coming to you guys for the zoning permits and the rezoning, because there's only one part on it that's not zoned what we need to be zoned for.
Ms. Deason.
Yes, sir.
This is Commissioner Martin, and I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes, sir.
So, right now, no one, from your business is currently, licensed to be a pawnbroker, and no one has a license to, to be a precious metal dealer or have a, firearms license.
Yes, sir. So with that question, so the firearms license, the pawn license, and the precious metal, one will go through the chief of police first. But for that to happen, we have to have a business. We actually have to have a hard structure, has to be inspected, one by the chief of police, and then we will go from there as far as filing the proper paperwork with the state. But we have to start at the ground level with the chief of police to have and get that ball rolling. Does that make sense, sir?
Yes, and so what type of firearms are you also, is this one of these firearms that are pawn, or are these gonna be firearms for sale?
So this will be any kind of firearm that is brought in to be pawned or be sold to us. There will be used firearms or antique firearms as well that would fit our business model. We're not looking to be a Carolina Sport and Security in Pine Level, not just a primary gun shop.
Okay, and in the notes, you also mentioned the fact that you plan to use e-commerce to drive the business model. Can you give us a little explanation about that?
Yes, sir. So e-commerce for me would be Facebook Marketplace or a eBay store that we will open up in conjunction with ours. Of course, you can't sell firearms on Facebook or eBay. So that would be an in-store purchase, in-store only kind of thing. But trading cards, sports memorabilia, those things can be sold, and along with precious metals and jewelry can also be sold through e-commerce. That would be our e-commerce side.
Okay, and you mentioned that at the third business model that you would rent, you would rent space for people to park either boats or cars or trucks there also.
Yes, sir. So to that question, what you're going to see is we got a huge amount of space behind that fence. That fence will be secure, and as mentioned, it will be a keypad. It will be secure for only people who have things or people of the business to actually enter. But those anything that is stored in there will have to be registered and insured by the individual who is looking for storage. It will not be to abandon property or junk up a lot back there.
Okay, so now you imagine how much space being utilized for these type vehicles.
Based on the space that I have inside the fence and based on the space that I would also reserve for our business storage, I would say no more than 12 spaces will be used for that, and that would be dependent on if I've got fifth wheels that want to come in there and be stored, like RVs, or if I've got 5 or 6 jet skis or something that somebody is heading down to the beach and finds my property convenient, at that point in time, they could say, okay, I'll store my stuff there, stop in and get it when I'm on my way to the beach, drop it back off. But I would see no more than 12 spaces being reserved for that side of the business. Due to we also need space for our business as well.
And so that I'm assuming that whenever you pull into the business, that and I did go down check it out a couple weeks ago, that on the left side of the business is where the fenced area is. Will that also be the area where the used car lot will be also?
So the left side of the business will be reserved for the used car lot. So if you pull into that parking lot and look left, there's a metal structure. That'll be the office for the used car lot. If you look right, will be the brick structure, and that will be the pawn shop. And if you drive straight, you would drive straight into pretty much a double gate that's on rollers that will be mechanical in use as far as storage. And so that will be where you would drive through to take anything in or out of storage from the facility.
Okay, and you also mentioned about supply space to food trucks.
Yes, sir. So supply and space of food trucks would be on an as-needed basis for us. What we're looking at is, of course, when we have a grand opening, to have something else that would also drive business towards us, and to also, if anyone wants to rent a space, they could reach out to us knowing that it is available, but nothing that would be per day, every day basis. It'd be more on like a weekend basis.
And you're aware that we've got a permit process for food trucks, so.
We talked to Michael or Mr. King about that.
Okay. And prior to the meeting, I discussed with Mr. Eason that certainly we do not allow another video
Yes.
facility nor a game room, and we have a right, based on parking and other reasons, to do an inspection
Oh, yes.
with notice.
Yes, sir.
So,
I would be very comfortable with an inspection, and I would also, and I actually asked for, I still have friends over in Johnson County Sheriff's Office to actually stop in the parking lot, sit in the parking lot at any point in time, and when we're opened up, I would love to have law enforcement presence inside. I mean, it helps with our security anyway, especially what we have on premises. And with my 10 years in law enforcement, we're not looking to do anything that's going to violate any laws of the state of North Carolina or violate any ordinances within Princeton.
David Johnson is with us, who's
Yes.
the real estate partner. Did you want to add anything, or?
Basically, I've also been in Johnston County for years. I live in the other side over towards Clayton. Princeton, I'm not as familiar with, except for the property that I have. I have a Boba Beans Bistro and Flowers. It's one of my focuses as far as anybody that knows me. You might know me in the area for bail bondsman, because I've been doing that for over a decade. You know, CJ's in charge of this property process, and any questions, you know, I'm available if you need me. CJ can basically answer everything.
He's also a huge Denver Broncos fan. I'm a Kansas City fan.
Yeah, crazy fan.
So what this, I was telling the mayor, this room wouldn't even encompass this collection. So that's why we're looking at sports memorabilia.
Sports memorabilia is a big thing for me.
Does any commissioner have a question, or member of the public?
I had a quick question. I was just been trying to understand this map as far as, can you help me and show me which part is the part that you're trying to switch?
So it would have to be on the actual plat map, which is right here.
Okay.
Mr. King? It is this tract right here, correct?
Correct,
Six.
one, that one out of
So
sight.
this little piece right here?
Yeah,
Okay,
that is it. And that falls onto the huge car side.
okay.
Because I guess whenever it was bought and sold, it never got universally zoned. It looks like they went in and zoned this portion at one point in time and this portion at one point in time as well.
Yeah, I think there is requirements that y'all put up a barrier around where the subdivision, where residential lots are adjacent, or?
I believe we're only bordered by, are we only bordered by commercial property? Based on what I saw?
I think it was commercial, we'll double check, but if it is a residential, we
Understand.
would need a buffer.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I think.
It's like a 6-foot fence,
Yeah.
trees.
Tree, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, the tree line's gonna stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tree line will stay there. There'll be nothing when we go in to clear out any more trees where it's at.
No.
And the lot area for, places to rent out, would that all be fenced in?
It is, if you flip back over, I'm sorry. I'm a more
inside.
visual type of guy.
Yeah.
So
It's inside the ring
inside that,
fence.
inside that ring fence right there, and this is the actual gate right here.
Okay. So all of this out here
Yep.
would be,
All this, that's dotted, that's the
Yeah.
fence, all this is now wooded back here.
Okay.
This is wooded onto the side right here.
Gotcha.
Where nothing, like I said, that opens up to any kind of residential property is, it would be seen from our property.
okay.
But the only thing you can see is the ABC store parking lot and Orman's from our parking lot.
I don't have anything, Walter.
Walter,
That's
do you,
most of what I was asking.
Walter, do you have any more questions?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Is Broderick with us yet?
He is not.
Okay. Any person wants to speak pro or against? Okay. Thank y'all. If we have any more questions before we vote, we'll
Yep.
address.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. The next public hearing is basically more of finale, is request by Richard D. Braswell. He was going to annex his property, but because he's part of a HOA subdivision, the whole subdivision has to be annexed. So he is going to pay out-of-town rates for water and sewer. Is there anything else to add to that?
No, sir, that's just it. He's requesting to be exempt from annexation, which was established prior to, the zoning for Lakeview. So,
So, my question is, normally, is our practice not to, annex it if we're offering both, water and sewer? Cause, and I do understand that there are some out of town, residents that we sell water to, but I'm not familiar with any that we offer both that are not.
We're treating him the same as any resident in that subdivision. All of them have water, and maybe one or two have sewer, and this is the same arrangement we have with all the other residents in that subdivision. Plus, Michael King can add to this, but Mr. Braswell is going to put in his own sewer line and possibly contribute a location for a pump station further down Martin Livestock Road.
correct.
So, he wanted to become part of the town of Princeton, but because of the subdivision bylaws, he could not.
Okay?
Okay. So he will be charged appropriate rates as an out-of-town customer if we move forward. Does anybody have any other questions on Mr. Braswell's?
If it's okay with me, this is Carol Johnson. What neighborhood is he in? Lakeview Acres, is that correct?
He is on the his lot's the last lot in that phase of Lakeview, and it's, the first house as you go down Martin Livestock Road, it's under construction.
So, and that's Lakeview Acres, not Lakeview Estates, correct?
Lakeview Estates, I believe.
Well, it's Lakeview Acres on the GIS. I was just curious, there's like 5 lots. I think 2 have been combined, so it's really 4 lots now.
It is very, very questionable. I spoke with Chip about it and Bob, our attorney, and looking at it, those 4, from what I can gather, do appear to be in Lakeview Acres, which is not part of Lakeview Estates. I cannot find any record that shows that it is part of Lakeview. I've asked Chip to provide it. He hasn't provided anything, but he did provide some statutes and stuff stating about the exemption from the estates and things like that. But as far as trying to find, is it actually part of Lakeview Estates? It is not recorded in Lakeview Estates. It is in Lakeview Acres. And like Carol said, there are, I think, 4 of those lots that are Lakeview Acres, which is different than the estates.
Okay, well, then why did he write an opinion that we could not be, that he could not be annexed?
I explained that to Chip and to Bob, and they discussed it and said that we should just move forward with it.
Well, that really doesn't sound like an answer, though.
No. I mean, I'll be glad to discuss it again and get some more concrete information, but discussing it with them, like I said, I could not find where it was part of Lakeview Estates. It is Lakeview Acres. Now, if that was what it was prior, I cannot find a record of that either.
Thank you, Carol, for bringing that to our attention. But I would, at this point, this is my thoughts, I would table it until we get an answer for
Yeah,
that.
because I emailed Chip and Bob on June 8th and explained it that I asked Chip to please confirm that this property was Lakeview Estates, as I only saw Lakeview Acres, which is not part of the estates.
Okay. But if you would write Mr. Braswell a letter that we intend to provide him water and sewer once this is identified, I think he can go ahead with whatever he's got to do. But
Okay.
we need clarity on this. And
Sure.
if he wanted to be part of the town,
Yeah, but I discussed that in several emails with his attorney and really never got a clear answer as it was the estates versus the acres.
My question is, since the town can't forcibly annex legally anymore, is he just asking to be separated from Lakeview Estates in case they decided to be annexed, that he would not be part of
can't
that?
be.
He can't.
He cannot
You can't be annexed
out
on
of
the
that estate,
subdivision.
out of that zone, he can't do it.
So what-
He's just
so what do we
asking to
have
be a town water and sewer customer and pay the out-of-town rates.
but if he's not part of Lakeview Estates, he can't be annexed. So that's the clarity we
Yeah,
need.
exactly.
And then he wouldn't have to pay the out-of-town rates, he could pay
Exactly.
the regular rates, but he'd be
And
annexed.
like I
and pay
said-
city taxes.
Yeah.
But Lakeview's not in town now.
But Lakeview-
Well, that's what he's trying to figure out, is
Yeah.
But
Lakeview
Lakeview-
Estates is not, but if he's in Lakeview Acres,
He can request
he
to
could request to be annexed, because it's not part of Lakeview Estates.
Okay, okay, I'm getting it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But can you get clarity on that?
Sure,
And
and
just
I-
tell Mr. Braswell,
Yeah.
we're gonna provide water and
yeah,
sewer.
and I
once
have
we
tried
identify-
to get clarity, but have not.
Okay.
But Carol, thank you for bringing that up. But yes, that appears to be in the acres, not the
Okay.
estates.
And if we need to call a meeting for him to get to move forward on, we'll do that. But, I mean, Mr. Braswell's helped us many times. We want him to move
We
forward.
wanted to have it, we just want to make sure it's done the right way.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so is there anyone who wants to, any other questions related to the public hearing?
I'm so sorry. I just have a few more. So I heard that we said the town cannot forcibly annex. Is that true for, y'all can't annex anybody anytime, or is it just certain places
It's volunteer only.
forever? Okay.
It used to was not that way, but they changed it several years ago that you could not forcibly annex anyone.
And could it ever be changed back? I'm just curious.
Sure. It's the General Assembly.
Yeah,
Okay. And then, did I hear also that Lakeview Estates is not part of the town, but they're also receiving water and
They-
sewer, but out of town? I mean, the
Some
special
of
rates?
them do receive water and some do sewer. That's prior to me coming. The mayor may have more information, or Michael Hardy, since he works with utilities, Mike could explain who does, who doesn't. But there are a couple of the houses that do. I think the whole subdivision does have water. There are a few that may have sewer.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
With the
Subdivision has
yeah.
water. and I think
The
first
primary
three
reason,
have sewer.
our city limits did not go anywhere near there at that point, that were not RDJ. We had no sewer services anywhere close to there until the elementary school came, so we could not provide sewer. And as they were being developed, there might have been consideration for them to be part of the town, but the statutes changed and it would take, I have to recall, but I think it's at least 80% of the subdivision vote to be, for them to come into the town. So it's sort of complex, but we welcome them in town if they want to be part of it.
I'm sure.
But out-of-town water customers do pay a higher rate than in-town.
Oh, I hope so, yeah. Thank you. I didn't mean to digress there. It's just
No.
rapid trail.
I have one question. So if he pays the out-of-town sewer and the out-of-town water, would that be provided without annexation?
It would.
Okay.
But we need clarity on whether it can be annexed or not.
Yeah.
It appears that Lakeview Acres and Lakeview Estates is not the same.
If he's in the estates, then he could get water sewer by default of not being in the city limits. If he is in the acres, then he would have to volunteer to annex in because he would not be part of the estates. And I need to check to see if the whole, of all four of the lots in the acres would have to as well, if he would have to volunteer out of the acres.
All right, so one more question, then we'll be quiet. If we wanted to develop Chestnut Ridge, which we will one day, can we request town water and town sewer and not ask to be annexed?
No. Can't do that.
This is something that happened 20 years ago.
Okay, because this is,
Yeah.
okay.
But we can have further discussion on your thoughts.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to play it out of my head.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Martin, that was one of the things that I was thinking about when I made the earlier statement that that we need to be clear and consistent on what we do and our policy has been, even with the change of law, that we'll let people pay out of town rates for on the water. But normally that was just water customers, not people that were not receiving both, because I mean, that we need to make sure that we're feeding all systems with the same spoon.
Well, then that's why we're gonna table, when we get out of the public hearing part, we'll table it until we have clarity on actually where that property lies, and if it's outside the estates, and it's a different horse of a different color.
Okay.
Okay, so first, we'll close the public hearing, and first is to rezone 9468 US 70 Highway East. And Charles, my first question, the entity that's gonna be operating this business, is there a legal name for it?
The J.C. Princeton is will be who will be operating out of there currently. If another LLC is formed for one of the two businesses, at that point in time, we'll just file that paperwork with the town. If that suffice with you.
Yeah, each business, as we go in and develop, we'll have a separate LLC, just for its own.
So it's a legal owner of the property, so it would be, at this point, operated under the legal owner. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
All this is still on that.
Anybody have any further questions?
My question was, were all the adjacent property owners notified?
Yes.
Did this particular issue go before the planning board?
Yes.
It was approved at the planning board back in May.
Yeah.
And then remember, we tabled it because, no, they didn't have any representation and we had so many questions last meeting.
Right. And let me say this, and that, that they're wanting to, change the zoning from R2/C3 to, commercial 3 only, that I don't have an issue with that at all. Now, to me, that it sounds like that they are trying to put at least 4 different businesses into this property. They want to do car lot, a pawn shop. They want to rent spaces for storage of vehicles, and they also want to rent spaces for food trucks. And I think Mr. Eason said that those would be on a as-needed basis. And I'm not quite sure what that means, but I'm guessing that they will use the food trucks to help drive the business model or whatever. And same as the mayor did say, that we remind him that we do have a policy on exactly how often that food trucks can come and what the policy are towards them. So those are my concerns.
Mr. Martin, this is Charles Eason. As far as your concerns, so it will be 2 different businesses, 2 different addresses that we're looking to get, that I spoke to Mr. King about, either 9468A and B or 9468 and 9470. Those businesses will be the pawn shop and the used car. The used car will manage the storage, and the pawn shop will work in conjunction with that. If we have any antique cars or anything that needs to be pawned, that we will actually store back there until it is brought to the lot. I also addressed this with the mayor. There will not be any work done on any vehicles there at that property. We're not set up for any kind of mechanical kind of stuff, and I'm not mechanically inclined, just to be honest with you, and neither is he. We have people who can do that we can take it somewhere else and have it done. And with the food trucks, what we're looking for is something to drive business. That is entirely it. As if we're looking to have a food truck and it falls within the ordinances and the applicable laws with the town, we will have one to just drive our business. Like I said, grand opening, maybe once a month, any kind of slow day we have that makes sense with the town ordinances.
Okay.
I don't have any more
I
questions.
just had a couple more. What kind of hours of operation would the pawn shop be running?
Probably like 10 to 6,
Yeah.
maybe, something like
that.
that. It's all gonna depend on what's better for the staff, driving in, traffic, different things like that. Like if that's a bad, we just, it all depends, but mainly daytime. Everything's gonna be, you know, from morning till evening, and then that's about it. After that, it's gonna get closed.
Okay.
There might be some sports card, you know, in relation to the collectibles, maybe some cards or some different helmet breaks, where that's an online thing, people can bid on different stuff. That might happen in the evening there, but there might be 2 or 3 employees, but that would be it.
And that's done in conjunction.
That would be done by about like 10 or 11 o'clock, and then that's it.
Okay, does the proximity have anything to do with the video place that's next door to
Stallions?
Stallions? Is it kind of like a business that might, you know, people are out of money, they need to go pawn something so they can get back in?
Oh, no, I mean, originally the intention, years ago when I bought the property with my partner, we were gonna go in and put one of the game rooms that I run in Raleigh, that totally sophisticated, 100% legal arms, everything, how it's run. But over the past year, somehow that kind of got bumped out. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with, I have all sorts of different businesses, but one, CJ lives out here in Princeton. This is gonna be his kind of a baby to run. And pawn shop and cars are things that I'm familiar with. I've been in business and been people's, what do you call it, a licensed sales person, but I was able to buy my own cars and sell them for years doing that. So I'm familiar with it. But no, we're not gonna be mechanics, and no, I don't want anyone from those businesses, say any video business, to come in. Because what we're looking to pawn is a higher scale item, if that makes sense. I know the customer very well. I have a couple places, but no, that's not not at all. I don't want that customer. I don't want lawnmowers outside. I don't want somebody trying to bring me in some junk. Anybody that knows me in Raleigh or anybody else, it is what it is. I'll tell you how it is, but all that little side stuff, how people make money, I don't have time for that. I'm not gonna do that. It's gonna be done one way straight, and none of that weird, we're trying to help that issue continue. Because we don't allow different things like that already in Raleigh, and we're known for having a higher level. So yeah, definitely not.
Okay. And you mentioned employees. Any idea about how many employees you think would take to run this place?
I'm thinking in the pawn shop, probably around 5 or 6, and cars. One of my sons will be involved in that, so maybe 2 other people, maybe. Bail bond agents might be involved in the car sales, because I do give them, any of the agents that write for me, the opportunity to make extra money in any different thing I might be involved in. In cars, we always let them sell in Raleigh in different places, because it's really showing up, selling somebody a car, they make $500-600, and that's it.
But they would be licensed to sell.
Oh, they'd all be licensed. Yeah, everything is all licensed, 100%.
And we reserve the right to inspect the property.
You're welcome to come in at any time. Same thing, we can write down all the businesses I'm involved in, you can go into any of them that are in Johnston, Wake, and Mecklenburg, it doesn't matter, definitely, you're more than welcome to. It's gonna be run a different shift than most people.
And last 2 questions, I just wanted to get an opinion from the town administrator and the police chief on this, what these items, is check all the boxes of everything?
Yeah, I mean, he meets all the criteria for the rezone. I mean, I don't see anything to deny it, so.
Don't see any problem.
You just gotta get his permits through you to operate the business.
And I'll actually file a report with him, and also have him where if something's stolen in town, guess who you can come see?
Okay.
In a heartbeat with with paperwork and everything else, that we have to hold it for a certain amount of time if it is pawn.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll be in the system, Leads Online. So Leads Online, I used when I was a detective for 4 years. Leads Online is a system that is free to us and free to use, and so we can enter in. If a ring has an initial or anything like that, he'll be able to go in, look at it, come to me, see it, get it, and we would exactly hand it right over at that
And one of
point.
the other benefits you guys will get is like, probably the most advanced camera systems that you guys have seen in the area. Cause our RPD, State Highway Patrol, everybody uses our stuff in Raleigh. I can see half a mile into your car on I-40 from my office. And that's just, cause no matter what we run, I want my mom to feel comfortable at 90 years old to come in and shop or play or whatever it's gonna be. It has to be normal, honest, and safe.
Okay. Does anyone have any further questions before we make a motion? Okay. Walter, are you fine?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Is Broderick online?
He said he's gonna call in 10 minutes.
Okay.
He's on the way to the hotel.
Is there a motion to move forward with the zoning permit? Motion has been made by Commissioner Holmes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Rose. Any further discussion? Hear none. This will be by voice vote. So Commissioner Holmes, you want to start?
Commissioner Holmes, yes.
Commissioner Rose, yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Commissioner Martin, yes.
Thank you, and the vote is unanimous, so move forward.
Thank you, we do appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir. I'll call it.
Thank you guys' time.
Thank y'all.
And the request by Dickie Braswell, we just need some legal clarity. And so is there a motion to table this to our next meeting?
There is, sir. Commissioner Martin.
Commissioner Martin made a motion. Commissioner, is there a second? We really don't need a second because, all in favor, if you'll state your name and your vote.
Commissioner Martin, vote to table.
Commissioner Holmes, yes.
Commissioner Rose, table.
Okay. The vote is unanimous, and we'll move forward until we get legal clarity on that. Okay? So I will add, at this point, 7A is the police report, which you have in front of you. And you can be as fast as you want to be, or as,
So this is our,
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, we're doing what now?
okay, we're doing the police report. It was not on our agenda, but I recognize that they're here to give a report, and it's in your package.
It was, we had actually rearranged the agendas 3 months ago,
Okay.
where they were only informational only. They reported to Michael, they weren't reporting to the, board.
Okay, well, he's going to introduce an employee.
And this was, in recommendation from the Triangle J,
Okay.
to take it off of the,
All right, well, we'll take it off of the agenda. This is a written report, but I think Chief does have someone to introduce.
this is Brianna Everett. She is our new hire. She started July 1 full-time with us. She comes from Goldsboro Police Department. She is actually a Johnston County girl, and she's excited to be back in Johnston County. She attended BLET in Wayne County at Wayne Community College. She's 23. And she's looking for a long career here in Princeton, and she's glad to be back in Johnston County. And she will be working the road for us for a year to get off her probationary period, and she'll be placed at Princeton Elementary School
This coming school year.
next year.
Next year.
She's got to do 12 months.
Okay,
Uninterrupted with, make sure I'm just good to go before I go to school.
okay, okay.
She has been doing a little bit of training and everything, but actual police work, enforcing laws and stuff. And most importantly, she has been out in the community, walking around the businesses, walking around some of the schools, getting to familiarize herself with the schools.
All right, Brad, I can put you on speaker.
All right, that'll work, thank you.
And we now have all 4 commissioners here.
And Lieutenant Toole has been training.
So in the rotation, I know you normally have you and 4 officers. So how is this going, she's going to be taking one of the spots of the 4 or just working in?
One of the spots.
Okay.
For. So we are in the process of hiring the other school resource officer, but we are in the same boat of having to have that full year of service before they can go to a school. And so we're gonna have to do the same thing with this other individual. It's female. She's got a 4-year degree. She's bilingual. And so we are going to be putting Officer Blythe at the elementary school for a year and Officer Stocks at the high school for a year until we can get them their year of service and off their probationary period and then have their general certification with North Carolina training standards. And then they'll be moved to the appropriate schools. That probationary period is a tough thing to beat whenever you're looking at SROs.
Well,
I'm excited to be a part of the community. It's definitely the most tight-knit community I've ever seen. I went out into almost every shop that was open, said hello, introduced myself. I'm really excited to get working in the elementary school. So it kind of breaks my heart a little bit that I have to do year on patrol, but nothing I'm not used to. As I said, and he said I used to work at Goldsboro Police Department, saw a lot there while I was there. So hopefully the transition here will be easy. But yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything, you can always come to me. I'm always open. But I'm just excited to be a part of the community here, so.
Thank you.
yep. And are we taking over completely the sports and stuff as far as,
Yes, sir.
okay, the after school sports and everything? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mhm. Cool, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions for Public Works?
No.
Thank you. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock and I knew he was gonna speak under persons to be heard, but I don't know whether Hope is gonna be here or not. We'll see, but if you wanna
We
start.
don't mind another phone in on it.
We will start your comments and thoughts and go from there.
Okay.
A little bit different than last meeting, but we'll,
Am I free to call her then?
yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I think Michael's trying to get her.
Oh, no, you good. I'm sorry.
She got fired me.
Mm.
It'll be your fault.
Hey, Miss Hope, we're at the town meeting. I have you on speakerphone.
Okay,
Hello, Hope.
hello, thanks for calling me in.
Thank you. So we spoke last month about the possibility of the library moving into the house behind the community building, and that was just not going to work with the number of renovations that needed to be done to the property to make it ADA compliant. It was gonna be way too much money. So instead, the idea was brought to me to move it into the community building, the back half of it. And there's not that much work that needs to be done to that space. Just a slab poured to the side door so that a wheelchair can access the back room. And then otherwise, I think we're good to go. Any thoughts?
Hope, did you want to comment on anything before we ask questions, or?
I covered everything. I mean, I'm here if there's
if you have questions or whatever, but, I am excited about the possibility of moving to a place where we can have more visibility for the patrons, for the people in the community. I think that would be a positive.
And are you talking about like the whole back half that is now rented out?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, not just the one of the corners or anything, the whole back half? Okay,
Yes.
gotcha. Okay.
That part of the building is probably rented very infrequently. It's the front that's rented, and there's security where you cannot get from the front to the back without going through a blocked door. And there's probably 1,300 square feet, which is roughly the same size as the house.
Yeah. And not having the internal walls to worry about would be good too. We were looking to keep the house in a house kind of condition, but we don't have to work around those walls now, so, the space would suit our needs way better than the house would have. And-
So they had J&N look at the house, and it's just too costly. The option was the back community building. I met with J&N over there at the community building, and we talked to the county, and basically we would just do a change of tenant in-house from community building to community building / library. There wouldn't be any changes that would need to be made other than just adding a little wheelchair ramp at the side door. But other than that, May had asked about maybe doing some decorating on the inside, make it look like a library. And I told her that, I didn't have a problem with that, but, she could mention it to the board. But they're looking to relocate to get out of the school, and it's definitely going to double their space. We've discussed splitting the utility bill or the power bill with them. The water and sewer wouldn't be an issue. And I think the power bill was, what did I send you, about $130-$140 a month-ish. So if that increases, they're willing to split the cost on that. And I told them if needed, we would try to help them out if they got in a bind financially or something, but we would do our best to support them.
Would we need to provide internet as well?
They're gonna do internet and phone.
Okay.
And I think she wants to put in a security, so all that is on them. We're just offering the space and splitting the light bill with them. But any upgrades, she knows is on her and would be removed or demoed at some point.
Walter or Broderick, do you have any comments or thoughts or questions?
So, just to make sure that I'm understanding, that they've now shifted where they want to use the back section of the community building.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's what I thought would be the better option from the very beginning. And so with that, I think that will probably solve some of the issues that they have. And it's something that I believe that the town can live with.
Broderick, do you have any thoughts?
I was gonna say basically pretty much what Mr. Martin said, but I do concur with what he was saying. I do think that this will be the better option for them, and I'm all for it.
I think it's an excellent idea.
Okay, not to forlay the issue, but y'all work out the details, and there needs to be a motion to move forward on this. So is there a person to make the motion that the library move into the back of the community building, and the town and the library will work out the details?
Basically, we're granting, the motion is to grant access to the library to the back of the community building, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'll make that motion. No, did I beat you? I beat you, Walter.
What's that now?
I made the motion.
Oh,
Well, somebody can make a second.
I second, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Walter, you got Dave. Broderick made the second. With that, all in favor, we've got to do it by person vote. So you got to state your name and your vote, yes or no.
Commissioner Rose, yes.
Commissioner Holmes, yes.
Commissioner Robinson, yes.
Water?
Well, I was sitting here still being very upset, but I am going to give Commissioner Martin, yes.
Okay. Okay, so you now have permission to work out the details to move to the back of the community building. That is a temporary home, it is not your permanent.
Yes. Yay, thank you so much, everybody. So yeah, it's temporary.
Thank you, Hope.
Thank you, Hope.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank y'all.
Okay.
I'm gonna hang up now.
This is the funniest meeting we've ever had. All these phones talking to each other.
Everybody's talking in codes. Okay, next is item number 7, the budget amendment and a correction. And Michael King, do you want to go over this?
Yes, so this is just a budget amendment. When we budgeted revenue for recreation and the fee and lieu, and the corresponding expenditure for the same amount in the recreation department. Unfortunately, that formula in the expenditure did not pick up in the corresponding expenditure and made the budget numbers off. So the only correction was if you look at the recreation, it should show 16, I think it is. 16,300. We're, like I said, it's just where the Excel didn't transfer the numbers, but other than that, there was no impact or changes to the budget. It was just a correction.
Any questions from anybody? We still have a balanced budget.
Oh, yeah, everything, yeah.
Okay. And maybe we'll have a surplus.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson here. So this didn't affect us in any negative way, did it?
Well, we had a presentation of about 8,000 surplus, but in fact, we have a zero surplus. We do have a contingency. It's just the figures were not in the right order.
Okay, thank you.
So is there a motion to move forward with the budget amendment?
There is Commissioner Martin.
Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Robinson.
Wow, this is getting technically, with a first and second being made by Commissioner Martin and Commissioner Robinson virtually. All in favor, if you would state your name and your vote, yes or no.
Commissioner
Robinson, yes.
Commissioner Robinson, yes. Commissioner Martin, yes.
Commissioner Rose, yes.
Commissioner Holmes, yes.
Vote is unanimous. Thank y'all.
And Mr. Mayor, I'm enjoying seeing this on the computer.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, next is the KS Bank auto loan. And Michael, we're taking your car back until we resolve this.
On this, KS Bank offered the best financing rate, terms and everything. We just need on the record a motion and an approval from the board to use KS Bank as the financing. Once we get all that, then we can proceed with the paperwork. We've already got the trucking and everything. I think we briefly discussed this at the last meeting. As far as the years of loans, and this would be a 4-year, and I know typically we do 3, and I agree with what you said. I think we need to look at budgeting and paying ourselves annually so we can pay cash for these vehicles, especially with the rates that are up and down. But for this vehicle, KS was just hard to beat, and we got a great working relationship with David Barber.
So, now, Mr. Administrator, Commissioner Martin, that the only question I have is one that Commissioner Rose cycle where we're purchasing our vehicles on a schedule. So since we are going to this fourth year, have we considered what that's going to do for our next purchases?
This is my thoughts, Walter, and we could do a 4-year loan, but on our next budget, try to pay extra payments to get on a 3-year payment plan. And that, I'm sure Cass Bank would be happy for us to pay it back early. There's no penalty to pay it back early, but that would affect the next year's budget for the police and for the public works, but it would not affect them adversely because you're probably $4,000 or $5,000 extra in payments. But if we were to change it to a 3-year contract, our budget would not be balanced at this point.
Okay.
So that's something that they can fix, but the rate is a good rate based on today's economy.
And the truck come in well under budget. We had budgeted 45,000 and we got it out the door for the 36,728. So it's well under budget.
And the only thing I'll say is, I mean, just to kind of repeat, as a common sense method, if we're paying, $4,000 in interest on a $36,000 vehicle, we're literally, it's like, if we can get to the point where we can and plan ahead and pay cash, it'll be like buy 9 get 1 free, pretty much is what we're saying. Yeah, because it's literally like that. So,
I think that's a great idea.
We'll work on that.
So is there a motion to move forward with Cass Bank?
There it is.
Commissioner Rose has made a motion. Is there a second?
There is Commissioner Martin.
Commissioner Martin made a second, virtually. Okay. All in favor, if you would state your name and your vote.
Commissioner Robinson, yes.
Commissioner Rose, yes.
Commissioner Holmes, yes.
Commissioner Martin, yes.
Okay, vote unanimous. Next item on our agenda is the facade grant for Tippy Toes. And Leslie, if you want to make a presentation.
I don't really know what my presentation is about. I was just told I was supposed to come.
Okay.
So, ultimately, I moved into this building 20 years ago and took it from, actually what is 104 South Pine Street was where I originally moved into. 102 South Pine Street was still housing a Mexican grocery store that we also purchased. So like all of it was purchased at the same time. But I was tiny then. So when we did the new street, when everyone did the new street, we had to take off the awning that was originally onto the building that was protecting the original wood frame windows from before my time, closer to probably 1920 when the building was built. So waiting to see whatever was gonna happen, because I didn't know, just timing, period. Just never got another awning put on, so therefore the wood was rotting, so it was time to make some changes. And with everything else changing in town, I wanna look the best in town, bottom line. So went ahead and had this done and didn't know that there was a procedure in the sense of I had to ask for a grant before just doing things. Because when I first remodeled this building, there was no things as facade grants or help from anyone. You just built a business and got permits, and that's how it was then. That makes me sound old. So with that being said, yes, I've updated the facade of 102 South Pine Street from the wooden framework and plexiglass to a nice metal framing and beautiful glassness and commercialized looking things. So therefore, I applied for what I thought was the grant that you just applied for. I didn't know that I had to come and make a presentation and visit you guys.
Well, I think the only reason we wanted to see you was because
You missed me.
Yeah, we missed you, but it was done after the work, and we recognize that things don't always get done the right way, but it looks great. It looks
Originally
great.
asked about it, all of you are different people. So I had asked and then ultimately just didn't really ask again, and then it was just like, my building is leaking and I'll get to it. So I got to it. It just took me a little bit more time.
But there is a comment I want to make.
Sure.
So some of us own businesses on different streets or on Donnie Jones Boulevard or wherever, but I can speak emphatically, Pine Street is the best looking street in Princeton.
Of course it is.
After not so looking good.
I was gonna say, considering that I was the only looking anything for a very long time after you guys left me,
It's
so I'm
come a
just
long
letting you
ways.
know.
It's come a long way.
So-
That's great.
Does Walter or Broderick have any questions or thoughts?
Well, and, Leslie, so you know, that the only thing that I saw was that our rules says that says you have to submit your application before the work is done. And let me say this to the board, that I've given that a little bit of thought. And that our intentions may have been good, but if a person does submit their request for reimbursement in a timely manner, yes, it would be better if we knew ahead of time. The main issue is the fact that we want people to make improvements to their property. She has, and so that we may need to think about changing part of our policy on that. But with that, I will make the motion unless there's further discussion there.
Well, Commissioner Holmes and Broderick have not said, don't have comments yet, so Broderick, do you have anything to add, or?
No, sir, I'm good right now.
I'm good.
Okay, we're ready for a motion.
The only, I just had one question for the administrator.
I'm sorry.
Do you know how much we have in our facade grant left?
$2,700.
Alright, great. All right.
Walter, you want to make a motion?
Well, I'm so rudely interrupted, I'm almost saying it, but it's around make a motion that we do award, Chickatoes to grant.
Is there a second to that motion?
There it is.
Commissioner Holmes made a second. So we will vote virtually and in person. And so if you'll state your name and your vote.
Commissioner Martin, yes.
Commissioner Holmes, yes.
Commissioner Rose, yes.
Commissioner Robinson, yes.
The vote is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for making Pine Street the best looking street in town.
Gotta do it better. Thank you guys.
I'll give it to you tomorrow.
She wants cash now.
No, I want to eat and, yeah, just want to eat.
We got some nabs.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting to that point. Like, I've clocked in at 7 a.m. this morning, so good night, guys.
You got it.
Next is the adjustment request by J&N Developers, and it's basically a watershed request.
So what you see here is what we would like to do behind our office building or warehouse on Pearl Street. 4 units of mini storage. We would start with one only, the one at the furthest in the back of the property. Would probably most likely be the first one built, and then we would just see how it would go from there and add accordingly as needed. We were asking that the impervious area be boosted. I think it was 50-some% up to 68.
63, 68.
53, 68, up to 68%, which I think is about 3/4 of an acre.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's right here in front. So that's a change of 15%, which consists of about 0.72 acres increase.
Michael King and I had a conversation with the planning director for the county, and on an as-need basis, we can make a request to the county to add to our impervious area, and rarely have we ever turned anyone down because of the watershed district, recognizing that we can get more allocation, but we've got to submit the need. So I'm just.
How much does the town currently have?
14 acres.
14 acres, yeah.
So they allot so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Per request.
Kind of like a land bank with wetlands.
Yeah. So, any discussion or?
And this will be done in phases, you're not talking about doing it needed all right away.
Yeah, we don't want to put full buildings out there. It'll take years to get them all ready. So this will be gradually done.
Is that drained backwards toward the tree line? Is that where it kind of?
It actually drains to the right. There's a ditch running down the right side of the property, almost on the property line.
Okay.
And it then drains out and then drains over towards the ballpark.
Okay, so it goes up to like, Pearl Street and then out to Mansfield.
And there's actually a ditch on the right, or excuse me, the left side of the property that runs down, but that is bringing, I guess that's town water coming down and banking going down the side of our property and then down the back.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone have questions? If not, is there a motion to honor their request?
There is Commissioner Martin.
Is there a second?
There he is, Commissioner Holmes.
Commissioner Holmes made a second. All in favor, state your name and your vote.
Commissioner Martin, yes.
Commissioner Holmes, yes.
Commissioner Rose, yes.
Commissioner Robinson, yes.
Thank y'all very much. Appreciate it, and we'll grant that request.
How soon you gonna start?
We'll probably start putting things together pretty soon. So hopefully within a year, absolutely.
Item number 12, there were some changes in the feasibility studies for facilities, and our environmental for the old community building expired. And so there's a requirement in the application that we turn in a environmental study to USDA for the community building. And there also is a request that the CPA feasibility review be done. And our current auditor will do that for $150 per hour, estimated to take 8 to 10 hours. Both of these items are reimbursable by USDA once they approve our loan. But TRC is going to be doing the feasibility study. It takes about 2 months to do it, and the deadline we're trying to reach is to get the application submitted prior to October 1st, when our statistics for our community change per USDA guidelines. So this is a checklist that USDA has for financing properties. Michael King and I and Marla and Triangle J, which is now Central Pines Council and Government, are filling in all the details we need to move forward on the application.
Now, you're saying this is for, to get approval for financing. I mean, what kind of financing are we looking at on this building?
Probably in the neighborhood of 1.4 million.
1.4 billion.
If I had $1.4 million to spend, it would be on infrastructure, not that building.
But again, about 80% of that could be grant, 50% could be grant.
You're talking 1.4 is the cost of the building or the loan?
The loan. No, it would be what USDA would be presenting back to us. It could be half grant, half loan. It could be, we don't know the details until we get, till they do the evaluation. We've got about 600,000 in the bank,
690.
690 already. for
Do we
this
know what the
year.
last proposed budget was for that building?
Last one was 2.6.
That's no furnishings,
2.7.
no play park, anything, that's just the building parking lot, correct?
That was building, parking lot. I don't think there was any furniture on the inside. That didn't include the splash pad. I think it was just the building structure itself, landscaping and parking, none of the furniture. I don't think it was any security or anything like that.
And the legislature is, got in their budget $500,000 that could be coming back to us for this project. We're hopeful it will be in the state budget.
I think we need to do the feasibility study, because I want to see what it is, even if we end up having to pay for it. But I'm not a big fan of having to go borrow money for something that we don't know that we're gonna generate a dime out of, when we've got a lot of other stuff in this town that needs to be fixed, as far as sewer, storm drains, streets. There's a lot of other places we could use $1.4 million.
I agree with Commissioner Holmes on that aspect. The study, I'm fine with doing the study, but being able to take that money, because I know we need, there's some streets and different things that need to be done there in town. And I think that the townspeople will probably appreciate it better if we do what needs to be done in town instead of the borrowing $1.5 million on the community building.
Well, again, we probably would not be borrowing that amount. A part of that would be grant, but we won't know the numbers until they come back to us. But we need these two items checked off to move forward.
Well, that's what I say, I have no problem doing the study, just to see what they actually say they think we're gonna get.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts?
Let me jump in here, and I may read what the projections and whatnot relate to, and there may be some either misunderstanding on some board members' parts, or I may not have understood what I read. But it's my understanding that this feasibility has to do with the town's financing, and also with whether or not there are any issues with the land itself. And now, as far as environmentally, but to get back to the mayor's point, that both these studies are needed, because we don't know whether or not USDA is gonna say that we'll give you a grant for 500 million, for 500,000 or $1 million, or whatever. But without these two at some point in time, and I asked this way back months ago, that we need to figure out what we can spend, what this building may be able to generate, because one of the reasons that you got a no vote from me several months ago was because I said that the $2.6 million was too high, that we could have already have started on this project, and probably could have been just about complete with it being at 1.2 or 1.3 million dollars. We would have had to cut back on a lot of stuff, but we still would have had a new building, and the town's money that we would have put in would have been something that we could have really probably worked with, because I had always said that the town that we would probably be looking at spending between not less than $400,000 and probably up to about $800,000. And the $800,000 with the $690,000 that we have would put you somewhere in the 1.6 million range. But tonight, that we do need to move forward with what the mayor is saying, so that we can see what part of monies that we're going to get.
Is that a motion, Mr. Martin?
Yes, sir, it is. Unless there's further discussion.
The only thing I just wanted to add is I don't know, it seems like we keep getting contracts with TRC that are very, like where do we come up with $15,000? Because that happens to be the maximum amount allowable that we can request. I mean, it always works out that way. Like if we can request at least $15,000 in engineering fees.
No,
Guess how much
it was
engineering fees?
much higher.
It was higher than that.
It was
We,
much like we negotiated.
Okay.
I probably got a little emotional when I talked to him. Would you say, Michael?
It was much higher.
Okay.
But Mayor did a good job negotiating.
Well, and I do understand that, this is the red tape that everybody loves about government, is
Yeah.
spending, that's what drives up the cost of everything. So, I don't know. I know that we've been talking about community development for years, and I think hopefully it won't be $15 million by the time we get around to building it, but I guess, I don't think it will be. I guess we won't be building it. But anyway, that's all I had to say.
We'll include it if you want to in the motion, is that, or we can have as a separate item, that the CPA feasibility review is $150 an hour, up to 8 to 10 hours. So if there's a motion for both, there is a motion. Walter, is your motion for both?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and then my last question, and then so just to break it all down, the TRC one is for site assessment and environmental assessment. Just, it doesn't include any kind of engineering or any drawings of what's going to be, like it just says yes or no, that it's okay. And then the one from the CPA
Feasibility.
is also basically saying that we can potentially afford it, and it could have enough revenue to help us afford it. Is it correct? Okay. All right. That's my questions.
Is there a second to the motion?
Those were his questions. Are we going to try and answer his questions?
No, he did. Michael King answered. He said yes.
Okay, all right.
Waiting for a second?
Yeah.
Second.
All those for, state your name and your vote.
Commissioner Holmes, yes.
Commissioner Robinson, yes.
Commissioner Rose, yes.
Commissioner Martin, yes.
Vote is unanimous. Thank you all. The next on our agenda is the mayor's comments and commissioners.
I did want to add one thing to that last, if I can interrupt. One thing that, just for those of you that are in the meeting, that weren't here last time, Marla Ashworth, who now works for TRC, our former town administrator, did let us know that, USDA has had very positive comments about this looking like a good project. So part of that is where my positive vote came from, that she feels very positive that this is going to be funded very heavily.
Okay. And I have good vibes from the General Assembly that we should be getting more appropriation, but the word is hopeful. Nothing is committed once you go to the General Assembly until it's signed. Okay. My comments tonight is basically, we're seeing a lot of forward issues moving forward in Princeton. And to me, the most favorable thing is Amee's presentation, that the library is now getting a home. And what I want to say temporary, because this building's going to be your permanent home. But once I feel like we use the library as a site, it gets more exposure, it gets more hours, and we'll be able to raise more money for the library and for the community center. So thank you for your interest and your support. And with that, I'll leave it to the other commissioners who may want to make a comment.
I would agree with what the mayor said. That it does seem like it's such a simple solution that I don't know why we hadn't already done it, kind of thing. But, as far as moving it, the library to the community building. But it does make sense, and I hope that we have a lot of success with a lot of people being able to use the library. The other thing I was just going to mention that's totally different is the downtown group put together has put together a concert that's coming up in August, and with that there was also some logos created, and it was amazing how many logos included the water tower that is here in town. And I've heard stories that the fate of the water tower is in question, and I just wanted to see if anyone knows if it is in question or if it's coming down, or
Word has it is coming down possibly next week.
Okay.
So we might want to get rid of it in the logos,
I had
right?
a phone call Friday, and just want to know the process, but word has it the owner is taking it down possibly next week. Coming out of California is doing it.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
Just for who may not know, the water tower was heavily damaged in the fire on that lot. And structurally, it's not been used in 40-some years. Inside is rusty. I don't know whether it's structurally sound, but we don't want it to fall on anyone. So taking it down, while it might be a landmark in Princeton, it's not a safe landmark.
Now, are you talking about, Mr. Mayor, the water tower we just had painted, or the one that's in town?
In town.
But technically both are in town, but the one off of Pine Street.
Oh, okay.
No,
Right by the open lot?
yes,
Well, they built some houses there now.
that's correct.
Okay, all right.
And I'll just state for the record that the water tower is not in town ownership. We don't own the water tower, and anything that's being done with it is not up to the town.
Correct.
Okay. Or being paid for by the town.
Correct.
Okay.
We have
Does-
nothing to do with it.
Okay. Does Commissioner Holmes or Martin or Robinson have anything to add?
No, Commissioner Martin.
Commissioner Robinson, I'm fine at this time.
Well, enjoy your travels, Commissioner Martin. Get to see the Gulf Coast. Don't bring back a hurricane unless it's a hurricane glass. And
I just want to remind you that Friday this week and next week I will be out on vacation. But you can text me and call me, but Mickey Mouse might say something.
So I would like to mention, if y'all need anything, think long and hard, because you need it before Thursday.
And April will be in charge while I'm gone. She's already said she's going to take off next week, so Emily's in charge.
And congratulations to our employee of the
Yeah,
year.
Thank you. Thank you.
you do not have a report, but is there anything you want to say?
No, just reminder of the vacation, and I'm glad you did bring it up. Something I did want to start with the staff was recognizing a valid employee. They are valuable to us, but I just felt like last year April has really stepped up her game to help me. She's helped Michael Hardy, the chief, and helped everybody. And she's been very appreciative, and we don't want her to go nowhere. And so we kind of surprised her with that. And hopefully, next year we'll move forward, and another employee will be up for candidate. So.
I have chaired virtual meetings with as many people as 60 people present, but it was all virtually, and people had to raise their hand to speak on that virtual menu. But doing live and then virtual and not being on a screen is it's fine. We did it. So is there a motion to adjourn?
There is.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We don't have to have an in-person vote. Good night, and thank you all for being part of the presentation. Good night.